Shockwaves spread across the Middle East and far beyond when officials in Iran announced that they had launched what they described as the largest direct strike ever carried out against Tel Aviv, the economic and strategic heart of Israel. Iranian commanders declared that waves of missiles and long-range drones had been fired toward the Israeli coastal metropolis in what they called a decisive demonstration of military capability and deterrence. According to Iranian officials speaking through state media, the strike was designed to hit key Israeli military infrastructure connected to command networks, air defense coordination centers, and intelligence facilities located in and around the Tel Aviv metropolitan area. Iranian military spokesman described the operation as a historic response, claiming it showed that Israel's most important urban center was now within the reach of Iran's expanding missile arsenal. According to Iranian state television, multiple projectiles were launched in coordinated waves with the intention of overwhelming defensive systems and striking what Iranian commanders described as strategic nodes tied to Israel's national security apparatus. Iranian outlets portrayed the operation not as a symbolic attack, but as a carefully planned military strike intended to send a powerful message across the region. Within minutes of those announcements, headlines began spreading across international media networks and security monitoring platforms. The developments were also rapidly discussed by prominent analysts and television commentators, including well-known broadcaster Rachel Maddow, as global attention focused on what could become one of the most dramatic escalations in the long-running confrontation between Iran and Israel. Before we go deeper into what Iran claims happened during this massive strike, how the attack reportedly unfolded across the skies over Tel Aviv, and what Israeli officials are now saying about the damage and the effectiveness of their defenses. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss the latest updates on the most dramatic geopolitical developments happening around the world. According to Iranian military officials, the strike was part of a coordinated operation involving both ballistic missiles and long-range unmanned aerial vehicles launched from multiple locations. Iranian commanders stated that the operation was designed to unfold in successive waves, combining different types of weapons in order to challenge Israel's layered air defense systems. Iranian state television reported that dozens of missiles were launched during the operation, with several reportedly aimed at high-value strategic targets in and around Tel Aviv. Military spokesmen appearing on Iranian broadcasts described the attack as a precision strike campaign, claiming that key installations connected to Israeli military command, intelligence coordination, and logistical operations were among the intended targets. According to statements released by Iranian military officials, some of the missiles were specifically aimed at facilities believed to support Israel's Air Defense Command network. Others were described as targeting infrastructure linked to intelligence operations and communication systems used by Israeli security forces operating in the region. Iranian state media further reported that several projectiles successfully reached their targets despite Israel's air defense systems. Commentators on Iranian television channels described the strike as a strategic turning point, claiming it demonstrated that Israel's most heavily defended urban centers could still be reached by Iranian long-range capabilities. The stated justification for the attack was framed by Iranian officials as retaliation within a broader regional confrontation. Iranian commanders argued that the operation was intended to send what they described as a clear political and military message that Iran would respond directly to threats against its interests and its allies. Statements released by Iranian military spokesmen emphasized the symbolic meaning of the strike as much as its physical impact. According to Iranian state media, the operation was intended to demonstrate that Iran could project power directly toward Israel's central urban corridor, an area that hosts not only civilian infrastructure, but also critical components of Israel's security architecture. The importance of this claim cannot be overstated. By portraying the strike as both successful and strategically meaningful, Iranian officials were signaling to regional audiences and international observers that the balance of deterrence in the Middle East may be shifting. And that claim immediately raised a critical question: why Tel Aviv itself? Tel Aviv sits along Israel's Mediterranean coastline and serves as the country's financial, technological, and logistical hub. But beyond its reputation as a global business and innovation center, the greater Tel Aviv metropolitan area also plays a significant role in Israel's national security infrastructure. The region hosts major military headquarters, intelligence coordination centers, and air defense command facilities that oversee Israel's multi-layered missile defense network. Several installations in the broader Tel Aviv district are believed to coordinate radar systems, interceptors, and early warning platforms that monitor threats across the Middle East. Military analysts note that the concentration of strategic infrastructure in and around Tel Aviv makes it one of the most important nodes in Israel's national defense architecture. Communications network, cyber operations facilities, and intelligence organizations all maintain a presence within the broader metropolitan corridor. In addition, the region acts as a central logistical hub for Israeli military operations, connecting airbases, naval facilities, and command structures across the country. Disruptions to that network, even temporary ones, could potentially affect how quickly Israeli forces respond to threats across multiple fronts. Because of this strategic importance, analysts have long identified Tel Aviv as a symbolic and operational focal point in any potential escalation between Israel and its adversaries. Military planners have repeatedly warned that the city's infrastructure would likely be among the first targets in a large-scale missile confrontation. Military analysts have long warned that Tel Aviv would be one of Iran's primary targets in any major escalation between the two countries. And that is precisely why the claims emerging from Iranian state media immediately drew global attention. Before we continue with how Israel has responded to these claims and what analysts are saying about what really happened, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss the latest updates on the most dramatic geopolitical developments happening around the world. Then Israel began to respond. Israeli defense officials confirmed that missiles and drones had indeed been launched toward the country, triggering air raid sirens across several areas, including the greater Tel Aviv region. However, their description of what happened next differed sharply from the narrative presented by Iranian state media. According to statements released by the Israeli Defense Forces, multiple defensive systems were activated almost immediately after the launches were detected. These included elements of Israel's layered missile defense network, which integrates systems designed to intercept threats at various altitudes and ranges. Israeli officials stated that the majority of incoming projectiles were intercepted before reaching their intended targets. Military spokesmen emphasized that defensive batteries successfully engaged several missiles outside populated areas, and that additional threats were neutralized before they could strike critical infrastructure. According to Israeli defense sources speaking to international media, while fragments and debris from intercepted missiles did fall in certain areas, the country's core military and command facilities remained fully operational. Officials stressed that the defensive network functioned as designed and prevented what could have been far greater damage. Statements released by Israeli authorities also indicated that emergency services had been deployed across several locations to assess potential impacts and assist civilians affected by falling debris. This stark difference between the two narratives immediately sparked debate across the global security community. On one side, Iranian officials were portraying the operation as a successful strike against one of Israel's most important strategic centers. On the other side, Israeli authorities were emphasizing the effectiveness of their defenses and insisting that the country's military infrastructure remained intact and operational. And within that gap between the two accounts lies the central mystery now dominating international headlines. Military analysts immediately began assessing what the strike could mean for the broader regional balance of power. Some experts noted that even if the majority of missiles were intercepted, the scale of the attack itself represents a significant escalation in the confrontation between Iran and Israel. Launching large numbers of projectiles toward a major metropolitan center dramatically raises the stakes and increases the risk of wider conflict. Others pointed out that both sides have powerful incentives to shape the narrative in their favor. For Iran, Portraying the strike as successful reinforces its image of deterrence and signals strength to regional allies and rivals alike, demonstrating that Israeli territory can be reached by large-scale missile barrages. Serves a strategic messaging purpose regardless of the exact level of physical damage. For Israel, emphasizing the effectiveness of its air defense systems reassures the public and signals to adversaries that the country remains capable of defending its population centers and military infrastructure. Military analysts also note that this type of narrative competition is common in modern conflicts, where information warfare plays an increasingly central role. Each side presents its version of events to shape international perception, influence diplomatic responses, and maintain domestic confidence. Beyond the military dimension, economic observers are closely watching the reaction of global markets. Any escalation involving Iran and Israel has the potential to influence energy markets across the Middle East, particularly if tensions threaten shipping routes or regional stability. Diplomatic pressure for de-escalation has already begun emerging from several international capitals, according to regional analysts speaking to international media. Governments across Europe, Asia, and the Gulf are closely monitoring developments, urging restraint while assessing whether the confrontation could spread beyond the immediate exchange. Whether the strike represent a single dramatic episode or the beginning of a larger cycle of retaliation remains uncertain, but analysts agree on one thing. The stakes have risen sharply. At this moment, two competing narratives dominate the global conversation. Iran claims it carried out a massive strike that successfully penetrated Israeli defenses and struck strategic targets inside Tel Aviv. Israel insists that its defensive systems intercepted the majority of the incoming missiles, and that its military infrastructure remains fully operational. Between those two narratives lies a complex reality that analysts and intelligence agencies around the world are now working to understand. Some experts warn that incidents like this can easily spiral into broader confrontation if either side believes it must respond with additional force. Others believe that both governments may attempt to contain the escalation using carefully calibrated messaging to avoid triggering a wider regional conflict. What is clear is that this strike has already become one of the most dramatic moments in the unfolding confrontation between Iran and Israel. Whether the situation escalates further or diplomatic pressure succeeds in calming the situation remains uncertain. The world watches closely as governments, military planners, and international observers assess what happens next. Stay tuned for further updates as this developing story continues to reshape the geopolitical landscape of the Middle East.